My video for March 19th, 2018 is entitled, Many Keep Saying, Keep the Faith. For most of my 71 plus years on this planet, I have believed that a loving God was going to bring the kingdom of heaven to earth. I even believed, as I was taught, that the Bible was the word of God. I overlooked the obvious inconsistencies of the God of wrath in the Old Testament, believing that the Messiah was going to usher in that shift during my lifetime, by 2012 at the latest. I had been provided a nice home, now stolen, where I could have meetings and play my role as best I could. I still make my videos every day. This is number 2633. I've been as faithful as possible despite the circumstances. Unfortunately, the promises I believed were true are still being withheld from mankind. The so-called currency revaluation requiring money to be asset-backed was supposed to be a step in moving us forward, enabling ordinary people, as opposed to the so-called elite, to have the resources to bring positive changes. Several people I know personally made rather large investments in the Dinar, Zim, and other currencies. Some even purchased online money, which never exists except on a computer screen. How is anyone keeping the faith with such a dismal record of success? For me, that gets more difficult with each passing week, month, and year. Talk about a trial of faith. I mean, since they took my home, and actually before that with my required heart surgery after a stroke, and then followed that by several heart attacks, I struggle to keep going. I do keep going for the simple reason that this has become pretty much my entire life, making videos. Before my home was stolen and before my family had moved in prior to that, I used to have a group that met regularly in my home. We had meetings every week and workshops periodically, seminars periodically, but all of that came to an end probably about 4.5 years ago. So what is left for me is making my videos, which is why after 2012 came and left, I did not just stop, I continued, because this is now what I do. And I have tried to keep the faith. Honestly, folks, I have tried to keep the faith, and I get people still pushing that Christ is coming back. I'm not so sure that everything in our history hasn't been distorted, and I'm not sure anything we've been told is real, is true. I watched a video earlier where it talked about the trees that have been turned into stone and the evidence of that. It talked about the evidence of all of our canyons and stuff being man-made, like even the Grand Canyon and stuff like that. Now, I don't, plausible deniability, what is that? That's another excuse for justifying a lie. And I believe we've been lied to in virtually every aspect of our lives, however long human history goes back. And there are debates as to how long that is. Some of the geological records may show something very different than what we've been taught they mean, especially the canyons and the flat mountains, and there's flat mountains all over the world. I didn't realize they were that prevalent until I watched the video earlier this afternoon. But the challenge we have is or at least that I have, is trying to make sense out of something that just doesn't seem to come together and make sense. I want it to, really, folks, I want to believe that my life has not been in vain, that humanity is more than just a slave to serve some monstrous gods from another dimension or whatever, that we actually have meaning and purpose and a destiny that is uplifting and good for us, rather than just continual enslavement until they figure out how to make robots that are able to do the work that's necessary, and then they won't need humans at all. I don't know. I'm really struggling trying to make sense of the whole thing. I go to hear my son play last night, which was a wonderful thing. They are certainly a very entertaining band. No wonder they won Entertainer of the Year, and the only original band to ever do so. However, I still live my day-to-day existence wanting to serve a higher good, a higher reality, and wanting to actually experience that higher reality. I don't know if this currency revaluation is going to bring the prosperity and put the wealth, as it were, in the hands of people that have a positive vision for all of humanity, not just segments of it, not just an elite part of it, but everyone to be uplifted. I don't want to serve religions that bind, which religion literally means to bind. It is to enslave us with a mind control system. Love is the only way out. And can we get to the place where we actually see the other as just another aspect of ourselves? Can we see the interconnectedness of all life and experience it as a reality? Not just believe it, but know it is true. There's been times that I've had experiences that I thought I knew it was true. But then as those experiences wade into the more distant past, the charm and the excitement of the, quote, revelation fades. And then I begin to wonder, did that really happen? How did I come to that interpretation that seemed so real at the time? So keeping the faith for me has become extremely difficult. Let's just put it that way. Extremely difficult for me to hang on to believing that something good is going to change things. Yet, what is the alternative? There is no alternative. I don't want to buy into the thing that this life is just an illusion and that the real life is somewhere else. In that case, why bother with this one to begin with? If the reality is somewhere else, let's all be in the somewhere else and forget this slave system, this environment of control by beings. I guess not people, but I don't know if they're people. Beings that do not have a positive attitude toward anyone other than looking at them as slaves, those which serve the elite's good, not their own good. Folks, if you sense my desperation, you're sensing absolutely correctly. I want to know the loving God not by belief, but by witnessing firsthand the action of redemption that liberates humanity from the clutches of whatever this demonic element is that has taken advantage of us and enslaved us unfairly. And there is, to me, no justification. There's no sin that could be committed against a God that is actually loving, especially sins where we have not been able to use our total resources. We somehow have to manage with less than what Anastasia has, and others seem to have the abilities that others seem to have been able to exercise in past based on what we see with the pyramids and everything else. And that after watching that video recently, I'm not sure what reality is anymore. I don't believe in a flat earth, which is how that one ended, that flat earth is only 50% of the truth. I don't believe it's any of the truth. I've never believed the flat earth. I've investigated. Anyway, my time is up. Thanks for listening. Namaste.